So it's the first week in January. I'm just heading back into these boulders to go and try this project that I found. Potholing in snow. At least it's not as bad as the other day when I was knee deep in this stuff. I thought today it might be quite a good day to talk about how I actually go climbing in really cold weather. I was sharing some pictures on my Instagram of clearing snow off this boulder the day before yesterday and trying moves. But it was below freezing, tons of snow around, absolutely fine for climbing. And a lot of people were commenting saying, how do you manage that, like climbing in the snow? I guess it's just a combination of experience and tactics, but I don't really find it difficult or a big deal. I don't really feel all that cold most of the time, as long as I take the right kit. I have actually forgotten one important piece of kit, which I'll talk about when we get to the boulder. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep potholing through the snow, and I'll talk again in a second. Oh well, that's the sunshine gone. Doesn't last long in January. It's actually starting to get dark already, which it does not long after it's got light this time of year in Scotland. So I rushed to actually do some climbing there because the boulder was dry and I cleaned all the top out, and I actually did the top out there, which was great. I warmed up as fast as I could. The sun's already gone down, so I'm going to be quite quick because I'd really like to get a bit more climbing done before it's time to go home. I've not brought my lights tonight because it's going to be like -4, -5, so I prefer just to climb now and just go home when it's just -2. Although you can climb it in the cold, I feel that when it gets to around -5 it starts to get a little bit less fun. I still do it down to that temperature if I had no other option, but because I have the option just now, then I'll climb in the day and go home. But sometimes in winter here it can be 5 to 8 degrees during the day, and 2 to 4 degrees at night. So sometimes I'll climb with my lights in the evening then for the best conditions. Just depends on the weather. So nothing I'm going to say in the next couple of minutes is rocket science. It's all really simple stuff. The main thing that's far and away the most important point I can make is that you can only retain the heat that you actually create in the first place. So obviously taking a big jacket to hide in and warm clothing in general is critical for being able to rock climb through the winter. But if you stand still like I am doing now, then you're going to lose heat no matter what, and you're going to lose heat down to a level where you might be comfortable but you might not perform optimally on the rock. So if I was to stand here and talk to you for say half an hour, then I might still feel totally comfortable standing here. But if I then put my rock shoes on, take my gloves off and try and go climbing, my temperature's got low enough that my hands will go numb and my feet will go numb straight away. So I really don't want to let my body temperature fall to anywhere near that level. I want to start off with it high on the walk-in, and then I want to keep it as high as possible. And there is one very, very simple way to do that, which is to keep moving. So that's partly why I'm talking to you now after having done some climbing, even though it's getting dark now. Because when I arrived and I wasn't warmed up for the climbing, I really needed to capitalise on the warmth that I'd made from walking in with a big heavy mat and loads of gear, and try and keep that body heat while I warmed up for the climbing. So I arrived at the boulder, took off the mats, got the mats out straight away, started brushing the top of the climb, then put my rock shoes straight on, started hanging on the holds, I started doing the easy moves, and this problem fortunately has the easiest part at the start, and so I did that I think 6 times in a row, with very little rest, to just get the body moving, get the temperature, get myself up to temperature, get blood flowing. And really if I take too long a break, I've lost it. It would be very hard to actually get back to an optimal temperature. You could do it, and the way to do it would be to move. So if I'd for some reason got delayed, maybe I had to belay someone or something like that, then I would warm my body back up by jumping up and down and running on the spot, and possibly going all the way down the slope and coming back up. That's actually something I more commonly do in sport climbing, even in places like Spain. I mean, I recall climbing in Sierra in the winter, and I'm not cold belaying, but I'm certainly not warmed up either, and so you would still get numb hands when you actually start climbing. So what I would do is put on my big jacket, put on my gloves, and walk all the way to the bottom of the slope, right the way down, further than you think you would need to go, and then I would walk all the way back up as fast as I could, and by the time I'd get back to the foot of the crag, I'd be absolutely boiling and actually couldn't wait to get my jacket off. And that's perfect because it then gives you time to get ready, get your harness on, tie in, ready yourself for your effort, and as you're doing that and as you're stripping off as well, your body temperature is coming back down, but it's coming back down from a high level back down to optimal level, and you can literally just wait until you hit the right temperature and then go. So you can only keep what heat you actually make in the first place. That's far and away the most important point. Then of course the next thing is the clothes you wear. There's a few things I'd like to say about that. Obviously I've got a big jacket today. Normally I would take a Fitzroy jacket, a synthetic jacket that's a sort of medium warmth insulation jacket. Today, because it's below freezing and I know I'm going to be standing about because I'm having proper attempts on this climb and I need to rest for a few more minutes, I brought out an even bigger jacket. This is the Citadel jacket, and it's like a cave to hide in. Let me just finish my tea. So, if I'm stood still, that just feels so nice to get fully wrapped up in. I am really warm right now, and I could probably stand here for half an hour and be fine. I've also got a really big pair of gloves. These are super cool wear gloves. I actually have even bigger ones, the hyper cool wear gloves that are thicker, but these are just fine for today because I am warmed up already. I'm not going to let myself get too cold before I get on here. I'm just going to talk to you for a couple more minutes and then I'm going to get back to it. The other thing that's critical, I'd like to say, is what's on my bottom half. So I have got a very dirty pair of duvet insulation trousers. These are synthetic insulation trousers. These are the Mountain Equipment's compressor pants, and they're just quite a thin duvet layer, but they're absolutely amazing, an absolute game changer. And duvet trousers are primarily designed for alpinism, they're designed for staying out on mountains or climbing in extreme cold temperatures. But to be honest, I do use them for that, but I use them far more actually for sport climbing. Often you're sport climbing in the shade, you're trying to look for the cold temperatures, but especially if you're red pointing and both of your working moves and things, you're going to be beeling for quite a while and you just get cold. And a big belay jacket's great and essential, but if you put even a thin layer of insulation on your legs, it's just an instant game changer. It just feels so nice. And I must say that occasionally when I've been at sport crags and I've got these duvet trousers out to belay, people kind of take the rip out of me a little bit and they're like, have you brought duvet trousers for sport climbing? That's a bit extreme. And yet they'll be kind of moaning about being cold when they're starting to do their turn. And all you need to say is just try those once and then instantly say, how much were they? Where did you get them? So they're really good. Also for my actual climbing itself, I am wearing insulated trousers. I'm wearing the Kinesis pants, which I basically live in the Kinesis pants and the Kinesis jacket all winter. Really, really light. Again, they're designed for winter climbing, winter mountaineering, but they're absolutely perfect for winter rock climbing. They are warm, but they're the same weight or even lighter than a standard pair of climbing pants. And it's the same with the jacket. The jacket's like 320 grams, so it's as light as a light top, but it provides a lot of warmth. I also have a synthetic gilet as well, which you saw I was warming up in. That was good to just keep my core warm and just allow that core temperature to come up during the warm-up process so that I can then hold on to that heat. And I also always want to get to the point where I'm slightly too hot and then give away a little bit of heat, if you like, to come down to the right temperature for the harder temps. So that's the most important things, is creating heat in the first place by moving. Secondly, having the right clothing, which oftentimes is proper mountaineering clothing. If you're not a mountaineer and you're just doing bouldering or sport climbing, it's still really worth investing in some proper mountaineering kit. And then thirdly, it's the tactics, the timing of everything, and you want to kind of think how your session is going to pan out so that you can minimise delays, because that's the times when you're going to get cold. So arrive at the crag, don't mess about, get everything ready, start warming up, do your hard attempts, and then you're done. And then there are a few smaller things. One thing that I intended to show you in this episode, but I've not actually needed today because I'm actually not that cold, is I also have a pair of insulation slippers which I put on in between attempts on boulder problems. And it kind of sounds ridiculous taking a pair of insulated slippers to the crag. I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud on YouTube, but they are amazing, especially because I do wear my rock shoes half a size smaller for bouldering than I do for trad and sport climbing, and so squeezing your feet into tight rock shoes when it's well below freezing, inevitably your toes get cold, they go a little bit numb. So what I usually do is, in between my attempts, I just make an effort to just get my rock shoes straight off. Again, that stops you from sitting still doing absolutely nothing, you're still doing something. Take my rock shoes off, put the slippers back on, and my feet are like really nice and warm, and then I never have that problem of having numb toes. It's just really good. I've also seen that some people actually light fires at the bottom of crags and put hot stones in their chalk bag, but I'm not super keen on the idea of fires at the crag. I just think it's too easy for it to go badly wrong. And the final thing, last but not least, possibly the most important thing in this whole video, is tea at the crag. Since it's below freezing today, my friend Ian would call this a 2-flask day, so I've actually got a flask of tea back at the car I had a little cup of tea before I left, and I'll have another one when I get back to the car. And I've brought a whole flask, I think a half a litre with me, to the crag, which is, it doesn't make much difference, but it's maybe a bit of a morale raiser. Right, so I've been stood still. I started off being almost overheated, and I'm just coming down to a good temperature now, but I can feel that if I stood here and talked to you for another 5 or 10 minutes, I'd maybe just be starting to get a little bit cold, especially my feet. I can start to feel my feet are not warm at the moment. They're not cold yet, but I don't want them to get numb when I put my rock shoes on. So I'm going to drink this tea, and then I'm going to squeeze in another couple of attempts before it gets dark. So psyched for this project, it's going to be a really good one. I've done all the moves now, which is amazing, can't believe it. Right, here we go, let's go climbing.